2016 was an awesome year for games. We've played a ton of them, and now we gotta look back at some of them. So we're here to bring you 10 of the best open world games of 2016. Now keep in mind, some of these are definitely not the best games, but they're classified as open world games. So let's get started off with number 10. We have Skyrim Special Edition. This enhanced or up-resed version of the famous 2011 game turns out to still be pretty awesome. While the launch wasn't without some problems, this is a much nicer, prettier version of a game that was already pretty great. We argued the merits of actually including a remaster on this list, but it was down to this or Mirror's Edge Catalysts, and we decided to put this game because it's way more fun, remaster or not. If you've never explored Tamriel, I gotta say Skyrim is definitely the way to do it. If you do have a modern console and you want to hop on it, or if you have a PC and just want to play the best version, go with Skyrim Special Edition and you will probably definitely not regret it because the world is massive and there's tons to do. It's like the ultimate medieval fantasy playground. But you probably know this by now. I think I'm preaching to the choir. And at number 9, we have Mafia III. While ultimately lauded by many people as a disappointment, what we can say is that if you push past the decent story and the really repetitive quests, New Bordeaux was a hell of a game world to get absorbed in. At the very least, Mafia III did a good job at capturing the whole New Orleans, Louisiana type culture, and really nailed that in creating its own fictional city in the late 1960s. It was filled with awesome music, all different types of variation between swamps, downtown cities, upper class areas, lower class areas, and everything in between. All the people on the streets felt convincing as you ran them over and gunned them down. It was just a unique location in game world. The last game that really nailed that whole Southern America type of thing was Infamous 2, and Mafia 3 captured it just as well. And at number 8, we have Far Cry Primal. Yeah, remember this game? It released way back in the beginning of 2016, and it was pretty decent. At least it had a nice, pretty open world, chock full of things to do. And while a lot of people had a problem with the fact that they took some of the map design from Far Cry 4 and copied it over, the fact that you're in this weird, strange, primal, prehistoric world made it really, really unique. And it was a fun world to play in, and it was lush and gorgeous and huge and looked amazing, especially if you were playing on PC. And at number 7 on our list, we have Tom Clancy's The Division. Yeah, alright, look, the game was completely a disappointment to most people, and it really lost steam after coming in on a big hype train, but at the very least, the recreated game world that was New York City after a sort of plague hit was pretty damn incredible. It wasn't huge because it was designed that you had to get everywhere by sprinting and running, but as a native New Yorker myself, I gotta say, they did an incredible job capturing the look and feel of New York City. Even though it was not a complete one-to-one recreation, it got the feel so incredibly strikingly right. Honestly, more than any other games captured New York City. And let's face it was fun to play in that game world until we realized there wasn't much more. And at number 6 on this list, finally, we have a really, really straight up awesome game, and that is Grow Up, the sequel to Grow Home. This small little Ubisoft-produced semi-indie game is based around really weird, unique momentum physics and exploration and climbing. Grow Home was awesome, and basically they took Grow Up and added more things to do in a big open world. They gave the main character a lot of new abilities and more places to go, and ultimately, it turned out to be a pretty awesome game. It's also probably one of the more unique and weird and artistic open world games we have on this list, because the world itself in Grow Up was massive and really just strange but fun. And at number 5, we have Pokemon Sun and Moon. Yes, we really kind of debated whether or not we could consider this an open world game, but honestly with this list for open world games, considering there's always so many, we were kind of scraping at the barrel. So hey, we decided to put Sun and Moon in here. The new game world in this Pokemon is a string of islands inspired by Hawaii called Alola, and it's a completely new region away from the Kanto region filled with different Pokemon, and it's totally awesome. The brilliance in Sun and Moon's design is the fact that it's multiple islands, and every island kind of just brings a lot of variation to the table, so you're getting a varied world and a very unique different chain of islands. It was a fun and challenging world that was interesting to look at and definitely worth a Sun and Moon playthrough. And at number 4 on the list, we have The Witcher 3 Blood and Wine Expansion. You shouldn't get angry for us for including an expansion on this list because, frankly, Blood and Wine can almost be considered a completely separate standalone Witcher game with its own new open world, which is why we're talking about it. The newer open world that CD Projekt Red gives us is Toussaint, and it's an incredible, weird mix of Mediterranean and medieval design in a bright, colorful, awesome world that definitely set it apart from the original Witcher 3. This is a more bright, colorful, and happy world that still manages to be filled with tons of secrets and places to explore and creepy, gross monsters to kill. Blood and Wine was freaking awesome. It was probably one of the better games this year, considering it's not really technically a game. And if you are a Witcher fan, you should definitely check it out because the world of Toussaint is worth exploring. It's gorgeous. And at number 3, we have Dying Light: The Following. Yeah, do you remember this one? This is another game that released in early 2016, but turned out to be awesome. Of course, it is an expansion on the original Dying Light, but it was basically an entire new game with an entire new region, and frankly, I thought The Following was better than the original original Dying Light. This first-person open-world zombie parkour, first-person shootery type game was really awesome, and the new region gave you wide open spaces in a more rural area. Instead of just throwing you in a crammed-in, packed city filled with zombies, this time around you were free to roam the open plains, and there was a huge emphasis on driving around in your cool modded-out dune buggy that you could customize. And that made the game so much fun and made the game world feel really, really big. But thankfully, there was lots of little hidden secrets and side quests to find. If you were a bit bummed on something like Dead Rising 4 and was looking for a good open-world zombie game, you should have played Dying Light the following. And at number 2 on our list, we have Final Fantasy XV, a very weird open world game. First of all, it's a Final Fantasy JRPG that basically takes a lot of modern open world conventions. It's a giant map filled with collectible things and side quests to keep you busy for seemingly forever. But on the flip side, it's really weird because it's a Japanese take on game design where everything really serves a purpose, but some of the scenery just serves as window dressing. It's a very give and take because the fact that you roam around in a car that you can't even really necessarily directly control makes it seem like it would be less of an open world game. But the fact that the game actually really encourages exploration in terms of leveling up, finding things, hunting monsters out in the open world, and keeping you away from your car and forcing you to get out and hoof it on foot and discover these beautiful places really made Final Fantasy XV special. Not to mention the fact that there's a ton of variation from American-style deserts to lush green forests to a lot of everything in between, but it's all just kind of riddled with that weird mystical Final Fantasy stuff like giant craters, incredible dinosaur monsters, and the ability to ride everywhere on chocobos. Also, graphically speaking, I thought it was freaking gorgeous. And finally, at number 1, Watch Dogs 2. Yeah, some of you guys would probably disagree with our choice, but hey, we've been having fun with this game. We like it a lot. It was definitely a surprise because after the first Watch Dogs, we didn't have too high of expectations for it, but it's just a fun game world, and the game does a good job of giving you tons of tools to explore it and do weird things in it that you wouldn't otherwise do in another open world game. Not only that, it did a really cool job at recreating San Francisco. Like The Division, it's not one-to-one, it's more designed around convenience and play, but it just captures the soul and the feel pretty damn well of the Bay Area. We put out a video about Watch Dogs 2 comparing it to Grand Theft Auto 5 and how they both kind of represent California in different ways. And honestly, the way Watch Dogs 2 represents American hacker culture in a kind of weird, cringy way, but also just the whole California lifestyle, it just does a good job. It's interesting. You know, it may not be completely accurate and realistic, but it's definitely a joy of a place to play and experience for yourself. Not to mention the fact that you can hack like everything this time around. If you thought you could hack a lot of stuff in Watch Dogs 2 has a lot more shit you can mess with. And all of us here were genuinely surprised how many hours we spent with this game. And we've got some bonus games, including Mirror's Edge Catalyst, which isn't a great game, but it's very pretty, and the free running stuff really worked out in the open world. We also have 7 Days to Die, a survival-ish game that isn't the most open world game, but it was just so much fun, we did want to include it on this list, considering we haven't given it any other recognition. And Dead Rising 4, definitely not the best Dead Rising game by any means, but a fun open world playground if you want to kill some zombies. We know you probably have your own personal list of your favorite open world games of the year, so we do want to hear from you guys down in the comments, because generally when we were making this list, we thought there would be more open world games this year worth mentioning, but it seemed like there was just less of a focus on open world games this year. But whatever, let's talk about any of these games down in the comments below. We'll be there. And you guys know you've been supporting us for so long by clicking the like button. We can't thank you enough. It really helps us. But if you are new, subscribing is a great idea because we put out videos like this every single day. But as always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.